kids, our 2 geriatric cats, and our 1 very dim-witted dog in the hayloft of an old barn on the eastern shore of Maryland.
About 3 hours south of here. We collaborate on making and publishing a series of satirical illustrated books that we distribute on a bi-monthly subscription service.
And through our small press Idiots books, that's what we've called ourselves, we've published 40 books over the last 6 years.
Our books aren't art books or comic books or children's books. When people ask, we generally describe them as satirical, odd, commercially non-viable picture books for adults, or ultimately a satirical illustrated human commentary. But in terms of an actual existing genre, we have no idea where they fit in. 1, that we run a small press. 2, that we work together really closely. And 3, that our work all depends on this tight overlap of pictures and words.
So that's where we're starting. And we imagine that we've been asked to speak to you today because we've managed to put together a successful big business.
If you define the word success as not running out of money.
Yeah, and you can take the word business with a grain of salt.
Exactly. To us, if we had to define it, success means having found a way to spend our time together making the art we want to make.
We knew that we needed structure.
So what we decided to do was set up a subscription service.
And we sent out our very first book called Facial Features of French Explorers to 80 or so friends and family members, basically everyone we knew, explaining our proposition.
And the proposition was this: if they would send us a check, we would send them 9 more books over the course of the coming year.
So we figured that if people gave us money, then we would have no excuse not to send them what they paid for.
Basically, it was an insurance policy against the threat of laziness.
Just getting out. People were starting to buy books for friends. They were starting to get subscriptions for friends as wedding presents. There was a bookstore in our town that started carrying our stuff. We were in a gallery show. There was a nice write-up of us in USA Today.
So this unexpected thing started happening.
Yeah, the subscription was working in ways that we had not anticipated.
The thing is, since we get paid up front by our subscribers, we never have to spend money that we don't have or make books that we haven't really already sold.
Yeah, we have the money to pay for the paper and the ink up front, and we only have to make as many copies of the books as we have subscribers. From a business standpoint, every single one of our books has been a risk.
Basically, they're genre-less creations of 2 nobodies with no idea what they're doing, no sense of business savvy, no idea about publishing or marketing. We just kind of did it and decided to see what would happen. The point is, it worked.
Much to our surprise, we actually were breaking even and then some.
So the first year ended, and since we hadn't run out of money, we decided to keep going. We had a stable group of subscribers, we'd gotten some really nice media, and most importantly, we were having fun.
And then we got the phone call that changed everything.
My old boss called and offered me my old job back with the understanding that I could work half-time from home and in my Mapazibani stores.
Yeah.
We found that the best way to sell our stuff is to put it in the context of ourselves.
So we started going to independent press shows like the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Arts Festival in Manhattan. There's the Small Press Expo in Bethesda. There are shows like these all over the place. They're devoted to small press and alternative publishing where illustrators and writers and comics people all come together to share their ideas and their stuff.
And these shows are a great way to put yourself out there. Thousands of people come through each day, people who are interested in comics and zines and writing and illustration.
But beyond sales, they're a great way to connect with your readers. As much as someone might like your images, once they get to know you, they'll connect with them even more.
They'll subscribe to your blog and your Twitter feed, making you feel good about yourself. The one year while we were there, this guy from Disney, that's actually the back of my head, but this is meant to suggest that the guy from Disney bought a copy of After Ever After, which is one of our books. A few years later, he took this book to a production meeting at Little Brown, which is a publishing company, which led to our being commissioned to write an illustrated book for LB Kids, which led to a piece about us in the New York Times Arts blog, which led to a bunch of new readers, which led to a really nice piece of credibility for our press kit.
So this is just one example of the good stuff that's come from us putting ourselves out there. At almost every show, something really useful and completely unexpected has happened, like making connections that lead to commissions, talks, reviews, articles.
Going to shows, though, is just one of the ways that we put ourselves out there. A few years ago, a friend of mine was starting a literary journal, and he asked me to do a book review as a favor. For free, of course, and of course it was a short turnaround, but I said yes and wrote the review, which just happened to be seen by a nice person named Tess, who just happened to be a scout for a very nice lady named Kathy, who just happened to become our literary agent, who just happened to meet with a very nice person named Bridget, who happens to be an editor for Chronicle Books. She happened to buy one of our books that's going to be published next fall, which is to say I'm really, really glad I wrote that book review. The books are just the starting point, the foundation of an enterprise that keeps spawning new tentacles. And each playing a role in our ongoing effort of growing our readership, increasing our cash flow, and giving us ever more excuses to make stuff. As we keep extending ourselves and keep saying yes to new opportunities, good things keep happening. We wonder if doggedness is another ingredient of luck.
We make books at all hours, at every waking moment.
When we're not making books, we are talking about making books or dreaming about making books.
When we drive, we talk about books. When we take a walk in the park, we're talking about books.
We have to make our books because people have already paid for them. We don't have the option to be lazy.
Doggedness loves company. Neither one of us is resilient enough to do this alone. Some days Matthew's not feeling up to snuff, and I have to talk him down from the ledge.
Ultimately, whenever it's time for Robbi to start actually drawing pictures for a new book, she enters such a profound funk that I have to hang up my writer's hat and do a little psychoanalyzing.
I do the accounting, Matthew handles all the mailings.
I do the big picture organizing, and Robbi does anything that requires detail, like taxes and web development, for example.
And then, of course, there's the household.
I do the cooking and the dishes.
And I do the vacuuming and the dusting. We actually make each other better at what we do. We divide the responsibilities of our universe so that neither one of us has to know how to do it all. And perhaps most importantly, we ask for help when we need it.
Our final thought on doggedness is that it's really hard to fake. If you're going to give yourself over to something to the degree required for this kind of effort, it helps if this thing is in your bones.
As fun as it can be to make art, it's not always easy. Here's our attempt at some helpful guidance.
From our admittedly limited perspective.
Embrace the sacrifices you must to lift the restrictions on what you can make and how you can make it.
Don't be afraid to take risks, especially when what you have to gain so far outweighs whatever you have to lose.
Whatever your obsession, pursue it with abandon.
Don't wait around for permission or validation. Make the stuff you want to make and make it now.
And instead of fixing on a single goal, follow the sense of creative opportunity and just see where it takes you.
Because if making art is the thing you seek, if making itself is enough, you will have succeeded from the day you start.
And you can chalk up the rest to whatever luck that you're able to make.
So thank you all for listening. Sorry we started late. Putting this together has been yet another unexpected chapter in our short, fun history of making stuff together.
And here's the thing about making something and putting it out into the world. Whether you guys liked it or not, whether or not the message landed, you're now part of our story.
And hopefully, we're part of yours.
So thank you.
Thanks a lot.